Hey everyone, Mark here at Car Audio Fabrication, and I'm here today with CT Sounds to show you how to build yet another subwoofer box. In this video, we're going to take a look at making a box for two Bio 10-inch subwoofers. As always, we will start with our subwoofer box design, which is available for download at the link in the description. This design is made specifically for the Bio series subwoofers and will do well in both the hatch of an SUV or trunk of a car. A quick reminder that it's important to have a design that is matched to the design of the subwoofers, so be sure to use this design only with the Bio series sub. Let's get started with building our box. We first start cutting all of our pieces on the table saw. Be sure to measure twice and cut once. When we cut our 45-degree pieces for in the corners of the subwoofer box, we adjust the angle of the blade to do so. Once all of our pieces are cut, we start doing our layout work. Now the dimensions provided on the design allow for a dual baffle box where the woofers are flush mounted. But to give this box a little bit more of a custom look, I'm going to do something special. You can see that I'm sketching additional lines. These lines are spots that I will add a line using a plunge router. Within my plunge router, I've loaded a bullnose bit from Mobile Solutions. This bit will cut a curved profile into the wood. After measuring the offset of my router base, I stick a guide board to my baffle using double-sided template tape. Now I can turn on the router, plunge into the wood, and cut a unique design. With the lines added, I next drill a center point into the middle of the circles. This allows me to insert the pin of my perfect circle router tool into the hole. I can then turn on the plunge router and cut each of my circles out of the baffle, allowing for the mounting of the subwoofers. Since this is a slot ported enclosure, I now need to cut the porthole. I first drill holes in each corner and then rough cut with a jigsaw, saving a small amount of material. Next I use template tape to stick the Fukuda router square to the baffle. You could also use 4 straight pieces of wood. Over at the router table, I've loaded up a flush trim bit. The bearing of the bit will ride on the tool, and the cutters, when spinning below, will cut the wood to a perfect straight profile. After the cutting process is complete, I remove the tool from the baffle. I can now use the first baffle as a guide for making the second baffle perfect using the same process for cutting the porthole. Next, I turn my attention to the brace. The brace is important for the box as it helps add strength to prevent the loss of valuable acoustic energy. Again, the design for this is detailed within the blueprint design, but in my case, I'm switching it up a little bit. After laying out my shape on the brace, I rough cut it using a jigsaw. Then I use template tape to stick a Mobile Solutions arc template to the brace along with some straight pieces of wood. Over at the router table, I use the flush trim bit to copy these shapes to my brace piece. This brace will definitely add some good strength to the box. Part of what I have decided to do for customizing the front baffle is to hide the mounting hardware and gasket of the subwoofer so that all you see is the surround. I carefully measure the subwoofer so I know just how large of a notch I need to take out of the front baffle. Over at the router table, I am now using a rabbiting bit which cuts a notch into the wood but also follows the profile of the wood via the bearing, much like the flush trim bit. You can see that once I finish cutting the notch, the baffle piece now fits perfectly over the subwoofer. Now I need to make some cuts that will allow for the material that I wrap the baffle with to fit on the backside of the baffle. I pick a different bearing from my router bit kit which changes how far my rabbiting bit cuts into the workpiece. I make a pass around the outside of the baffle. I also use a similar rabbiting bit to cut a notch on the side pieces, once again for compensation of the carpet and vinyl later. Here I have loaded in a small handrail bit into the router. This bit adds a unique profile that I've decided to use around the subwoofer holes as well as around the outside edge of the baffle. For the inside of the porthole, I'm using another contour that is an angled chamfer bit. This will allow for better airflow into the port, and it also gives the front baffle an interesting look. Finally, our last bit at the router is a small roundover bit which adds a quarter circle type profile. I use this on the internal port pieces as well as the edge of the brace for improved airflow. Now before we start assembly, I need to attach some small ball and socket fasteners that will allow me to snap the front of the box on and off easily. I carefully measure the positions for the male and female fasteners. Next, I drill holes for each of the fasteners. Finally, I secure all the fasteners in place using CA glue. After allowing the glue to dry, I test that everything connects together correctly. Everything looks good, so now we can move on to assembling the box. For assembling a box, I always start with the back and bottom pieces. I run a bead of glue along the joining surface and then use an old gift card to spread out the glue to over the entire surface. This helps to ensure that you get a good strong bond between the wood pieces. To secure the pieces, I use a brad nail gun. After I make each joint, I will add additional glue to the joint. Next, I'll use a caulk tool to evenly spread the glue along that corner. If your cuts are precise, this will perfectly seal the joint. If your cuts are uneven, you can always add caulk after your assembly is complete. With 4 sides complete, I can now add 45-degree pieces into the corners. These help to strengthen the box, seal the corners better, and can enhance the airflow within the box. In the meantime, I assembled my port structure and add it into the box as well. Next, I carefully measure the spacing for the brace. It is important that this lines up in position between the woofer mounting holes. Once positioned, I add glue and secure it in place. Now I apply glue to the whole front of the box. This allows me to then position the front baffle and secure it to the rest of the box. With the front of the box in place, I can now add the remainder of the 45s. Our box is now ready for its lid. Before doing so though, this is always a good time to add any additional glue, and if any of your cuts were bad, it's a good time to add sealant. I'm good to go though, so I apply glue to the top surface and secure the top of the box in position. Now that the box is fully assembled, I need to wrap it. In this case, I'm using a gray vinyl for the front baffle and charcoal gray carpet for the box itself. I start with cutting a piece of vinyl to size. I also prepare the box for upholstery glue by masking off areas that I do not want the glue to be applied. Next, I spray the glue using my spray gun. Since I'm spraying a contact adhesive, I need to apply the glue to both surfaces. I will use this technique on both the front baffle with the vinyl and the box with the carpet. After allowing the glue to dry, I can now start sticking the pieces together. I start with the vinyl. When I lay the vinyl onto the baffle, I carefully form the vinyl into the shape of the baffle. A wet rag works well for pushing against the surface. I also use a wooden roller to fully stick the surfaces together. With the front side secure, I flip the baffle and apply glue to the outside perimeter. While that is drying, I can start working on the carpeting of the box. I use similar techniques to carpet these surfaces. Back over at the baffle, I wrap the material around the back side of the edge and secure it in place with the wooden roller. The rabbited edge that we made earlier gives a perfect groove to run a sharp knife and cut the material perfectly. I also use this method for wrapping around the inside of the subwoofer cutouts and the port. Back over at the subwoofer box, I've finished wrapping the bottom, back, and top, and now I can wrap the sides. I wrap material around the edges first, tuck it into my rabbited groove, and then cut the excess material away. I then use a separate piece of carpet to fill the rest of the side, and again tuck it into the notch and cut away extra material. As a final touch, I decided to add acoustically transparent grill cloth to the port. If you have issues with items within your vehicle making their way into the port, this can be a good solution. It does have a small impact on the output of the box though, so it's up to you whether or not you want to use it. I do this by simply applying CA glue, and once the glue is dry, cutting the excess material away. Now the front baffle is complete. All we have left to do now is wire our CT Sounds Bio 10-inch subwoofers and install them into the box. With the woofers in position, I can now snap the front baffle in place. And there we have it, a completely custom slot-ported subwoofer box. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed the fabrication in this video and would like to learn more, be sure to check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Car Audio Fabrication. Also be sure to subscribe here to CT Sounds so you are updated when new videos are added. What subwoofer box would you like to see me build next? Let us know in the comments down below. Thanks again for watching.